Shalom, Israel, shalom. Brother Aaron, Royal Regime of Christ Church. First and foremost, all praise to the Most High Yahweh. Today we're going to be discussing the topic covetousness. Covet or covetousness, which is also written in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not covet. And this spirit here comes along with a spirit, okay, because it's really evil. It influences and affects a lot of people within the earth, especially our people. When I say our people, Israel, so-called black man, black woman. Okay, a lot of us have this spirit against one another. It runs rampant. Okay, what I probably try to do is just go ahead, of course we talk about the Most High's laws and commandments. I probably want to do like a little series, start with the 10, okay? We know it's many more than 10 commandments, but let's just start with the simple 10. A lot of us understand who we are now as Israelites, but the next step, okay, we need to break this down and start specifically showing, according to the Bible, how to apply these commandments and how to understand them. So the one we just going to start with today is covetousness. So once again, title of the lesson, thou shalt not covet. So first place we want to go is St. John chapter 8, verse 32.
St. John chapter 8, verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Okay, ye shall know the truth, and the truth is what's going to make you free. Okay, from there, let's get a precept. Let's go to Psalms 119. Psalms 119, and we're going to read verse 142. Because the truth is going to make us free. So let's see, what is this truth? What is this truth that's going to make us free?
Psalms chapter 119, verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth.
You see that? Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. So the truth that's going to make us free is the laws of God. Okay? Let's see specifically how is this truth going to make us free. Let's go to Psalms 19. Psalms chapter 19, and I want verse 7. Because the truth is what's going to make us free. We just found out the law is the truth that's going to make us free. Let's see how is it going to do that.
Psalms chapter 19, verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul.
Doing what?
Converting the soul.
Okay.
The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple.
You see that? So this law is going to set us free, give us the truth by converting the soul. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul, meaning the mind. Once you learn the laws of God, you're going to apply it to your life, and it's going to change your mind, which is how we're born again. It's going to convert your soul. Okay? From there, let's go to Romans. Romans chapter 7, and we read verse 7, because we're going to get an example. The Apostle Paul told us about this law. Let's see what he was talking about.
Romans chapter 7, verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid.
No, the law is not sin. Come on.
Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet.
You see that? Paul saying, this is New Testament, by the way, the Apostle Paul. He would not known sin. He would not known what lust meant, except the law said, thou shalt not covet. So Paul learned how was he violating God based on the law. The law is our instructions to life. That's what the Lord put as kind of like a playbook, a game plan, instructions on how we are to live our life. How do you please God? How you displease God? What God likes, what he doesn't like. That's what the purpose of the law is. That's what Paul just said. I would not know sin except the law said thou shalt not covet. Okay, so since we're dealing with the particular law of covenant, I want to get the definition of covetousness. Let's see specifically what is the definition of covetousness, so everybody can understand, well, what exactly does covetousness mean? So when you get that definition, let's read it.
Out of the Merriam-Webster, covetous, marked by inordinate desire for wealth or possessions or for another's possessions.
Okay, an inordinate desire. This is an abnormal craving, an appetite for something of someone. This particular definition says particularly using with wealth or possessions. But it's a craving, it's a unnatural desire, like a strong craving or desire for wealth or some type of material gain. Okay, so now we're going to take a particular look at this law. We're going to take a look at this particular law, thou shalt not covet. Okay, because we found out the law is what it is that's going to convert us. We reference Paul. saying, I would not have known what lust or sin was if it had been for the law said, thou shalt not covet. So let's refer to this particular law that Paul was talking about. We're going to Exodus chapter 20, and we're going to read verse 17.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house.
Okay, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Don't envy and want the house that belongs to somebody else. That's what it's saying. Come on.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife.
Thy neighbor's wife, same thing. This is how adultery, everything else gets started. Wanting another man's woman, another man's wife. Come on.
Nor his manservant.
Or his manservant. In those days, and we will in the future, we will have servants. Thou shalt not covet or want another man's slave or servant. Come on.
Nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass.
Or his ox or his ass. We can apply that today, okay? That would be transportation today. Or his car, his truck. Don't want his vehicle that belongs to him. Come on.
Nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Nor anything that belongs to your brother or your sister. That's his. That's what the Most High has allotted or given him. That belongs to him. Okay, so that's that particular law within itself. So let's go to James chapter 4. And we're going to read verses 1 and 2.
James chapter 4, verses 1. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lust that war in your members?
You see that? Where come wars and fighting among you? This is talking about the whole, strife, violence, contentions among men. It's telling us where it comes from. Come on.
Ye lust and have not. Ye kill and desire to have, and cannot obtain. Ye fight in war, yet ye have not, because ye ask not.
You see that? So the whole fightings amongst man, the human race, okay, the fighting we have within ourselves, the contention and striving against our fellow brother and sister, it all comes down to wanting, a lusting, which is covetousness. You lusting off to something, particular somebody else have it, I don't have it, oh, it's an issue. Now you lusting for, I wish I had that, I wish I had this. You just fill in the blank. It could be homes, cars, looks, clothes, business, money, okay, spiritual gifts, whatever. But it's not being content or satisfied. It's always wanting something of someone else particular. All right, let's get Kings, the book of 1 Kings in the Old Testament. Let's look at a particular example of a king who lived, Ahab. Let's see how Ahab had the spirit of covetousness on him. 1 Kings chapter 21. And we're going to read verse 4.
1 Kings chapter 21, verse 4. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displaced because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my father. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him, and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread?
She said, why is thy spirit so sad? I think if you read the whole thing, we probably should start at verse 1. But basically, there was a guy who had a vineyard. Okay, and Ahab wanted it. I believe Nabal. Yeah, Nabal had a vineyard. And Ahab wanted this particular vineyard. So he went to Nabal asked him, I want your vineyard, I'll buy it. So Nabal refused. Okay, he said, this is for my family. It passed down, so I can't sell it to you. So when he refused, King Ahab went back and tells you, verse 4, his whole countenance changed. He got a spirit of heaviness, sad. Go ahead and read it again, verse 4.
And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread.
See that? So now he's depressed. He's depressed because he wanted to purchase another man's vineyard, something that belonged to somebody else. The guy refused him. So now he got the spirit of anger, depression, heaviness on him. Okay? Now he's ready to do whatever just to get this vineyard. And if you continue to read the story, of course, his wife Jezebel, wrote letters and stuff in his name, had Nabal put to death. But it's just showing you what type of spirit could come along with this covetous spirit. It breeds hatred, envy, jealousy. There's a lot of spirits that come with this covetous spirit. Okay? From now, let's go to Genesis. Genesis chapter 4. We're going to get some more examples of covetousness. Genesis chapter 4. And we're going to read verses 1 through 8.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain, to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
Okay, so far the Lord is asking for an offer from both. Offer from these two brothers, Cain and Abel. They both brought their offering. Abel brought his firstlings of the flock and stuff of the field. And Cain brought his from the fruit of the earth, meaning crops. The Lord accepted his brother's Abel, but he refused Cain's. Okay, and basically he refused Abel's because he refused Cain's, because Cain did it with his heart wasn't right. He really didn't want to get the Lord the first. Abel, on the other hand, brought forth his first with joy. So this is why the Lord accepted Abel's, but he refused Cain. Now let's see what happened when the Lord refused Cain. Let's see what Cain, how his spirit changed towards his brother. Come on.
And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door.
You see what the Lord telling him? Why are you letting this spirit come upon you? This spirit of anger and covetousness. If you do what's right, if you do what's commanded to you, the Lord will bless you. If you don't do what's commanded to you, you won't be blessed. Basically, come on.
And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel and his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him.
You see that? He murdered his own brother because of this spirit of covetousness. He got angry with his brother. All his brother did was what the Lord commanded. Okay, and it's the same thing we see within this earth today.
Jealousy.
You know, it breeds jealousy. We show you all the spirit that comes from, the different spirits that come from covetousness. His brother only did what the Lord told him to do. But yet, he got his brother Cain's envy, and he hating his brother now because the Lord is blessing Abel and not him. Okay, so that spirit of covetousness came on him, and look, hatred, he slew, he murdered his own brother. That's all we're going on that. Let's get 1 Samuel chapter 18. We get more examples, the spirit of covetousness. 1 Samuel chapter 18, read verses 7 through 9.
1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 7. And the woman answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands.
You see this? Now what's going on here? You got David and Saul coming back from war. They battling the Philistines. Okay, so they're on the same team. Now when they get back from destroying, killing these Philistines, you got the women that's singing and dancing, and they're making songs of celebration. And they're like, hey, you know, Saul has killed his thousands, and David has killed his 10,000s. Now Saul is hearing this now. And now this spirit of anger and covetousness is finna come on Saul, all because of something that's simple. Because the women are saying Saul killed his thousands, but David killed his 10,000s. Come on.
And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward.
You see that? Saul eyed David. I mean, that spirit of covetousness and hatred came on him from that day forward. The day they got back, now it's supposed to be a celebration. They just got through, they're on the same team. They just got through destroying their enemies. But yet, instead of him hugging and loving his brother and celebrating, he got an evil heart towards his brother just because the women are singing the song. Yeah. So instead of a celebration, what it should have been, okay, this spirit of envy and covetousness has got on Saul, and they say from that day forward, he hated his brother David. He was out to get him from that day forward, his own brother. All right, from now, let's go to Genesis chapter 27. Genesis chapter 27, we're going to read verse 41. We're going to look at another example. This is Jacob and Esau.
Genesis chapter 27, verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
You see that? It say Esau hated his brother Jacob because of the blessing which his father gave him. And from that day forward, same thing. He said that the days of my father is in hand, and then I will slay my brother Jacob. I'm going to kill my brother Jacob. Why? Because of the blessing. He was covered in the blessing that their father gave Jacob. Now, if you read the whole story, everyone knows Esau sold his birthright. The Bible says he despised his birthright. He sold his birthright for a pot of parch, a pot of stew, basically. Okay, so when the father, Isaac, began to bless Jacob, rightfully so, he overheard this. He threw a temper tantrum. Got to crying, despite, what about me, oh me, what blessing did you have left for me? Okay, but even though he's the one who sold his birthright. But the point is, it said because of the blessing, because somebody else was blessed, he started to hate and covet off of what his brother had.
Yeah.
Okay, same spirit we see running rapid throughout the earth today. Okay, let's go to 1 John. 1 John chapter 3. I believe this is the one that's going to mention Cain and Abel again. It's giving us a specific example. 1 John chapter 3, verses 12 through 15.
1 John chapter 3, verse 12. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother, and wherefore slew him, because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous.
You see that? Because his work, Cain's work, was evil. His brother was righteous. So you're going to get mad and slay your brother because your brother doing something right. Come on.
Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death into life, because we love the brethren. We that loveth not his brother, he that loveth not his brother, abideth in death. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and he knows that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him. Hereby perceive we the love of God, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. Okay, so the point is that spirit of covetousness, we see the next spirit that it brings. It brings the spirit of hatred and murder. So they all related. All these wicked spirits and emotions are related. It starts with covetousness. You covet so much or for so long, that goes from covetousness to now it's hatred. After so much hatred, you're going to eventually act on that hatred. Now it's physical murder. Okay, this is what it's showing you. And it also said we know that no murder should enter the kingdom of heaven. So if you have this spirit of covetousness, if it goes unchecked or unrepented of, you can forget about getting into the kingdom of heaven. Okay, this is how serious this is. Let's go to Philippians chapter 1. Now this is going to be an example, kind of like it can even be spiritual covenants. Okay, you got some people who they're supposed to be believers, right? But they'll envy or covet their own brother or sister spiritual gift. All right, Philippians chapter 1, verses 15 through 17. Philippians chapter 1, verse 15. Some indeed preach Christ even of envy and strife.
You see that? You got some people who even preach the gospel, supposed to be preachers, but they doing it for the wrong reasons, out of envy and strife. Meaning they envying the brother or the sister, somebody else that's preaching the message. They only doing this or preaching the gospel out of the spirit of envy and strife. Come on.
And some also of goodwill. The one preach Christ of contention, not sincerely.
You see that? You got people preaching the gospel of Christ just for contention's sake, not out of sincerity. Come on.
Supposing to add affliction to my bonds, but the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. What then? Notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached, and I therein do rejoice, yea, and will rejoice.
Okay, all I want was 17.
Okay.
All right, from there, this is just showing you though. You got people supposed to be ministers teaching the word, but it's that same spirit of covetousness They only doing it to make contention and strife with their brother or sister. All right, from there, let's get James chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 17. James chapter 1, verse 17.
James chapter 1, verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness.
You see that? Every good gift is from above and comes from the Father of lights, talking about the Most High. Any good gift is the Lord to give it anyway. Okay, so we don't have to envy, covet one another. All you can simply do, ask the Lord. Continue.
Neither shadow of turning. Verse 18.
That's it. That's all I want. I just wanted to show you where good gifts come from. It's the Lord who gives good gifts. Mm-hmm. Every good gift comes from above. Okay, let's go to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 6. Book of 1 Timothy chapter 6. Then we're going to read verses 8 through 10. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 8 through 10. Just study getting more precepts to show you what this spirit is, what causes this spirit, and now we're going to look at the spirit we should have, the right spirit we should be in.
And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content.
Read it again.
And having food and raiment, let us be therefore therewith content.
See that? If you have food, if the Lord is feeding you every day, okay, if you have raiment, okay, clothes to put on your back, okay, as simple as a roof over your head, therefore be content. Okay, that's what the Lord promised. Say the Lord shall supply all my needs according to his riches and glory. Okay, so with food and raiment, we should be satisfied. Come on. That's it on that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, from there, let's go to Romans chapter 12. Look at a little bit more of these spiritual gifts and things. Romans chapter 12, verses 3 through 10.
For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith.
You see that? The Most High has dealt every person the measure of faith. So he's given each man something. It's just up to you to find out what it is and magnify it, increase it. But it says he's dealt the measure of faith to every man. Come on.
For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy.
See, it says many members. Many different functions, in other words. Many different functions, many different gifts. Just like your physical body. Hands, legs, toes. Okay, these are many different separate members, but they yet make up one complete body. Mm-hmm. This is how we're supposed to be as believers. Okay, now we're going to get into the specifics of these separate members of these gifts. Come on.
Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the portion of faith.
You see that? Some are given prophecy, but if we're given prophecy, it says let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith that's given us. So take with the understanding that you have. Okay, we keep it in terms of spiritual. Mm-hmm. Don't covet. We don't have to covet somebody else's spiritual gift for, oh, this person could do that. No. In other words, play your position, stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. This is all it's saying. Keep going.
Or ministry. Let us wait on our ministry. Or he that teacheth on teaching. Or he that exhorteth, or exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good.
Okay, that's all I want on that. Mm-hmm. Now let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Okay, but all that's showing you is many different members, many different gifts within the body, but we all one. In other words, everybody's supposed to be on the same team. Just be content and thank the Most High for the function he gave you, instead of covenant or design what your brother or your sister had. Okay, so this is 1 Corinthians chapter 12. We're going to read verses 4 through 12.
Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same
See
Spirit.
that? Same thing we just read in Romans 12. Diversities of gifts, many different gifts, but it's the same Spirit, meaning the Most High is the one who give it to us. Come on.
And there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge, by the same Spirit.
See that? All these different functions, all these different gifts, but it works to make up one body to work together, but it's the same Spirit that gives it. Okay, so we still one team. Shouldn't be any covetousness. What's the point if we all working for the same team, one body? This is all it's showing us over again. All right, that's verse 12.
No, I can keep reading.
Keep going.
To another faith by the same Spirit. To another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. Verse 10. To another the working of miracles. To another prophecy. To another discerning of spirits. To another diverse kinds of tongues. To another the interpretation of tongues. Verse 11. But all these worketh that one and the self same Spirit.
See that? All these different gifts, but it's the same team, it's the same Spirit that gives it. Come on.
Dividing to every man severely as he will. Verse 12. For as the body is one, and hath many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Christ.
See that? One body is Christ, so there should be no room for the spirit of covetousness. All right, now jump to verse 30. I want verses 30 and 31.
Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? Verse 31. But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent
See
way.
that? Verse 31 is letting you know if you have to covet, this is what you should be coveting.
Right.
Not lustly things or the material things or things of this world. Okay, but spiritual things. Let him covet spiritual things. If you're going to covet something or want something, ask the Lord to give it to you spiritually. Not envy your brother or your sister for their gifts. Okay, that's all that's saying. From now, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4. A couple more, we're going to wrap it up.
And that's the same thing. If you notice, it kept saying with the same Spirit.
That's it.
Meaning, if you don't believe the commandments and believe in keeping them, then we can't have the same Spirit. We're preaching two different things.
Exactly. Exactly. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 11.
If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth, that God in all things may be glorified through Yahushua, Christ, to whom he be praise and dominion forever and ever.
Okay, read the first part of that again, the first half.
If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God.
Okay, if any man speak, if you're going to teach or speak something about the word of the Most High, make sure you're doing it as it is written from the Bible. Come on, that's the oracles of God. Come on.
If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth.
See that? If you're going to minister, stick to your lane. Only do it according to the ability that he's given you. Remember, he said he dealt each man the measure of faith. Okay? Don't try to talk or teach on things you have no idea. Okay? Stay in your lane is what it's saying. If you don't have a particular gift that was given to you, for instance, it says, does all speak in tongues? Do all prophesy? Do all know? That means no. If that's not your particular gift, don't do something that's over your head, as you're going to have to answer to the Lord for that. That's all it's saying. Stick to the ability that's given to you. Okay, that's all I wanted right there. Now we're going to Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6, and we're reading verses 3 and 4.
Galatians chapter 6, verse 3. For if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself.
Come on.
But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another.
See that? Let every man prove his own work, and then he'll have rejoicing in himself alone and not other. What that's simply saying is do what the Most High called you to do. And then you'll be satisfied within your own self. You won't have to covet and look at what your brother and sister doing. That spirit of covetousness won't even come upon you. Why? Because you're content, but you fulfilling your role and purpose of what the Lord gave you. You don't have time to sit back and look at what everybody else doing. You know, and this is another thing for me personally, like for instance, social media. That's why I'm rarely, if any, I don't really deal with that too much, because I understand everybody don't use it for that. But at the same thing, I believe most things are what this world set up for. They set it up for evil.
Of course.
For the average person, that breeds the spirit of covetousness. You got people all day long who just sit up and follow other people, see what other people doing, watching other people.
And yeah, jealousy and everything.
Right, and then what that caused a lot of people to do, a lot of people look at that, they don't know how to, the Bible says give credit what credit is due. A lot of people can't do that. They'll see something that they consider may be doing well, and now they'll look at that, and that'll breed a spirit of covetousness on them. Why? Because they're comparing themselves to that particular person. Even celebrities, you got people making all this money and flash it, and this and that, and trying to glorify the lifestyle. The average person that's seeing that, they may not be spiritually grounded. They can't look at that. When they look at that, guess what? That's making them feel like their life is a failure.
Less than, yeah.
Why? Because they're comparing their life to somebody else. Okay, so it's just showing you this spirit can come upon you in a lot of different ways. Okay, so sometimes you have to know what doors to shut. If you're one that's easily influenced like that, that may be something you have to put down. It may be something you have to fast. Television. Every time we turn on the television, same thing. Okay, it's something. Sometimes it can be in the area of sexual lust. Okay, it could be a simple commercial that promotes sex. It could be food. It could be money, material, whatever. You just have to really guard the windows to your soul, which is your eyes. Okay. From there, let's wrap it up with Revelations chapter 14. So we're going to see the Father of this Spirit. We're going to see who it is. We just read that every good gift come from above, the Most High. Now let's see who this covenant spirit really come from. Let's see who's the Father of it. Revelations chapter 14, we'll read verses 12 through 15.
Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yahweh.
Hold on. I wanted that one last. Let's go to Isaiah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get it real quick. Isaiah. Because we're going to see the spirit, who this spirit really comes from. Who's the father of this covenant spirit. Okay, because it started way in the beginning. Isaiah chapter 14 and verses 12 through 14. That's what I want.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
Oh, who?
O Lucifer.
That's the devil. Come on.
Son of the morning. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?
Come on.
For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
Oh, you see that? This is Satan the devil. He said, I will be like the Most High. I'm going to set my throne above the stars of heaven. I'll sit in the congregation of the north. He says, I shall be like the Most High. So this is showing you Satan the devil has that same spirit towards the Lord. He wants to be God. You see that? And what is it? I think it's St. John 8:44. You can get that real quick. Because we got a lot of people who got the same spirit of this devil. St. John 8:44. So that's why it all started. He's the father of this covenant spirit.
St. John chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do.
You see that? Ye of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. We just read what the lust of the devil is. He had the same covenant spirit. He said, I shall be like the Most High. That's the same spirit that come on our brothers and sisters if we're not careful. Ooh, I want to be like that. I want that. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to drive this. I want to drive that. I want to keep up with the Joneses. I want to teach this. I want to teach that. It's the same type of spirit. All right? That's it on that?
He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh the lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
You see that? The father of it. Okay, but it's showing you that same spirit in Isaiah 14. He wanted to be like the Most High. He can't, so therefore he envy and hate the Lord. Okay, and we just read John 8:44. You're your father, the devil. The lust of your father you will do. A lot of people got that same spirit. Okay, so we just showing you where this spirit of covetousness come from. So If anybody identify with the Spirit, okay, that's what we have repent. This is what we have the law for. We started out. Okay, what was it? Psalms 19:7. The Lord is perfect, converting the soul. This is why the laws of God is so important. You can identify the Spirit. We read that, Romans 7:7. Paul say, I would have not known. But seeing whatsoever the law said, thou shalt not covet. So the law, once again, is our instruction manual on how we identify these spirits and what violates the Lord. Okay, so with that, the title of the lesson, once again, thou shalt not covet. I pray y'all got some understanding. Until next time, shalom. We are.